What role do you think psychedelic drugs are able to play in people's ability not only to experience awe, but to instill that upon others, and how that relates to your own work?
Yeah. Hey, man, I got to be 100% honest. That quote from Tom Robbins, where I said that we need to pull ourselves out of context in order to gawk in amazement at the wonders of the world, he was talking about psychedelics. But I just think it actually applies to everything we do in life. But he says, it's not that psychedelics manufacture wonderment or that they can automatically make us more imaginative beings, but what psychedelics do is pull us so radically out of our comfort zones. They decondition our thinking. They thrust us out of everything we thought we knew about the world in order to see things as if for the first time and form new synaptic connections. You know, they change our context. That's why people take psychedelics and they say, take a trip. Right? Take a trip. Well, look at the physical equivalent of that. Taking a trip means physically go somewhere you've never been before where no one knows your name, see the world differently, and jump into a new culture. Like, I think it has to do with forcing yourself to gain different perspectives on how you see reality. You know, reality is made of language, and so how you map your reality really matters. The words you use to map your reality. Your reality.
When Steve Jobs was young, the drug of choice was acid. And Jobs told his biographer that dropping acid as a young man was one of the best things he ever did, because when he took it with his girlfriend, the wheat field started playing Bach, which is pretty unbelievable. A computer nerd had a girlfriend? Now, maybe there's not a connection between LSD and genius, but it's something no great American ever said about a Kit Kat bar. If it weren't for acid, you might not have an iPod. And you definitely wouldn't have some of the best music in your iPod.
You yelling there, brother?
Francis Crick discovered the structure of DNA while on acid. The Beatles made Sgt. Pepper while on acid. I made DC Cab while on acid. And the list goes on and on. And it's not just anecdotal. In a study from Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine last month, scientists found that a single dose of psilocybin, which is the drug in magic mushrooms, created a, quote, long-term positive personality change in most patients. People improved in the areas of sensitivity, imagination, and broad-minded tolerance of others. In pharmaceutical speak, psilocybin is known as an asshole inhibitor.
The man who created this molecule, Albert Hofmann, warned, if used improperly, LSD could hurt you, disturb you, make you crazy. But Hofmann also said that LSD is a tool to turn us into what we're supposed to be.
I think that what psychedelics do is, I think they're tools. I think they're tools. That's what I think, which is very different from just fully advocating their use. I think that they're tools that need to be treated with respect.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
There was a fascinating article, you know, obviously marijuana is always in the debate and it's on the ballot in 3 states in the United States, and which I hope that they legalize it. But there was an interesting study published in a journal called Psychiatry, I believe, that looked at the phenomenon of creativity, right? And creativity is defined as just connecting things, right? Creative people seem to have this ability to connect the dots between seemingly disparate subjects. And then the study looked at marijuana and creativity, and what they looked at was the phenomenon of semantic priming. And semantic priming is basically free association. It's like you activate a word, and then it immediately creates these associative words, these associative ideas. It's like throwing a pebble into a water and seeing the ripple effects. And so let's say you have the word bird. Most people think bird, wings, flight. Those are the instant associations. It turns out that people who smoked marijuana and that claimed that it made them more creative, my understanding is that marijuana induced a state of hyperpriming, and that it expanded their associative net, so that they were able to make more far-reaching connections among things and ideas. And perhaps that's because it dissolved the sort of usual separateness and sort of categorizations and compartmentalized ways in which we store information. I don't know how it works, but it seems to have worked. And so if that's not reason enough for that to be used as a tool, at least for creative people, I don't know what is. You know, there's a great book called What the Dormouse Said, written by John Markoff, that chronicles the history of the personal computer and the collision of Silicon Valley and the counterculture movement in the 60s and 70s. Xerox PARC, Douglas Engelbart was trying to augment human intelligence by any means necessary. They were giving LSD to all the engineers and then having them work on problems that they had been stuck with for 6 months, and they had unbelievable breakthroughs, unbelievable breakthroughs.
In Menlo Park, California, another group of scientists set out to see what else LSD could do. It was just one of many legal human experiments around the country. James Fadiman was a Stanford graduate student at the time.
I'm James Fadiman.
One of the questions was, could psychedelics be used for non-mystical problem solving, for scientific, hard-nosed, data-rich stuff? And the answer that we had at the time was nobody had any idea.
Well, gentlemen, here's mud in your eyes. Cheers.
So we took senior scientists and said to them, we will give you a psychedelic session, and the price of admission is a problem that you have been working on for at least 3 months and are frustrated about, and that matters to you a lot.
Their problems ranged from abstract scientific equations to practical architecture and furniture designs.
We gave them a psychedelic, we gave them some hours to just relax and be with themselves, and then we got them up and said, it's time to work on your problems, and they dove in.
I took a trip through architectural history and visited and saw various cities and places.
Each subject claimed that with focus and guidance, LSD allowed them to approach their problem with a fresh perspective, or instilled them with the freedom to explore ideas more openly. The result?
Patents issued, products built, theories extended and improved, papers published, and more importantly, for many weeks thereafter, according to the scientists, their overall level of creativity was up.
Steve Jobs literally learned to think different. And if you can get that insight from LSD or mushrooms, or for that matter, from licking a toad, then bring me Kermit the Frog and I'll stick my tongue right down his throat.
But there's an interesting article that says that Google is the first psychedelically informed superpower, and that the whole vision of interconnectivity and interconductivity and we are all one is being literalized by a company like Google, by the World Wide Web. The internet literalizes the psychedelic vision that we are all one, because now we are all synapses in a global brain. That's a totally out there idea, but definitely worth talking about.
There's this class of compounds, the psychedelics, that has remained untouched. We're pulling them out of the deep freeze. For 30 years, 40 years, we have not looked at them clinically, and it's just incredibly exciting and compelling to do so.
We're on the threshold of learning so much more as well. These compounds are extraordinary probes, and if we are allowed to explore them under approved, safe conditions, I believe the potential is astounding.
The only difference between a drug and a poison is the dose. You can't tell me that of all the drugs out there, I mean, even heroin is used to treat pain in other countries. You can't tell me that psychedelics don't have a medical use. They do. We just have to discover it.
How psychedelics evolve from this point as agents of healing or misuse is yet to be seen.